Welcome back to One with Econ, macroeconomic strategies to make better financial and investment decisions. Today we are focusing on a strategy that is based on a concept in economics not really discussed anymore due to its political nature. The production versus consumer economy strategy is simple. There are only two types of economies. Each type of economy is chosen by a said country to improve the quality of life for its people. Doing so causes the government to do certain things to support certain industries. This strategy is to bet on those specific industries that are essentially government sanctioned and thus environmentally supported. We will walk through a few examples of industries and country types to better understand this strategy. Please, as always, leave your questions and comments below and I will do my best to address them in future videos. What is a production economy? The goal of a production economy is to maximize producers' surplus. How can we increase our trade surplus for our country and capitalize on the gains? These countries often improve the quality of life for their people by operating a collective distribution of income that will be filtered throughout society. The goal of this economy type is to concentrate resources from export-driven businesses. Through high taxation and state ownership, these countries capture most of the export surplus brought in through trade. This supplemental income is distributed throughout the people in the form of programs such as universal healthcare, education, and other public services. You'll notice from the examples of these countries, there are really high extremities of high cost of living to low cost of living ranges. This is due to the fact that consumer spending power of the individual is not of concern for this economy. To help the goal of surplus increase, the government goes out of its way to use certain tools to help the export-sided industries. Here are a few examples. The EU is notorious for its utilization of tariffs for non-EU products. The reason being that since the cost of living is so high in these areas, the only way to prevent import prices from destroying trade surplus is by hiking the rates on foreign production. A contrasting tool used by China is to lower the cost of living by devaluing its own currency. By devaluing its own currency, China is able to make cheaper products than that of its global competitors. The result of such economy types producing the largest growth for sectors is specific to that of export-driven businesses. For these country examples, we notice that manufacturing goods, autos, and electronics are the biggest industries in said countries. That is also on a scale that is reflective of specific stocks. Daimler, Samsung, Toyota are some, to name a few, that have done very well as a result of these government sanctions. With the government behind production exports increasing, it's within their interest to do everything they can to help and support the valuation of these stocks. Contrast to that of a production economy, a consumer economy is focused on consumer surplus, not producer. What can we do to improve the health of our consumer? The goal of this economy is to improve the quality of life by focusing on offering higher quality of goods and services with lower prices. This is done to achieve an optimal ratio of low costs of living and high spending power. To do this, consumer countries focus on key variables that are tied to consumer health. Employment rates, wage growth, and access to credit are a few examples. The largest contrast to that of a production economy is the role that government plays in operation. As the resources collected by businesses are not the important variable to consumer health, what is important is the role businesses play in creating jobs. As a result, the goal of the government is to limit what role it plays in hindering business readiness. Can we lower the corporate tax rate to station more businesses here? How do we lower startup costs? How do we promote property and individual rights that encourages businesses to come here from foreign countries? The goal of the consumer economy often forecasts what industries have had the best performance, those that help consumers. If you look at the last 30 years, the largest stocks that have arisen in the consumer economy have been sectors that focus in technology, financials, and retail. These sectors produce high quality of goods through tech, cheaper and more easier access of goods through retail and distribution, and access to credit and liquidity through the form of financial stocks. These sectors don't actually generate goods for export. Apple is the exception to this list, but understand that while their IP is created in the US, the actual goods are not produced here. And that is simply for the best interest base of the laws of economics we just discussed. Production-based countries are the best and most suited for manufacturing goals. If your portfolio were to have concentrated on these three specific industries, for any consumer nation, you will notice that over the last 30 years, they outproduced and outperformed every other sector in every other country. You would have generated the most highest returns among any other sector strategy out there. I would like to close by mentioning that this topic is very important and not discussed enough, and economics do not focus on this in public education due to its political nature. You'll notice certain trends that form as a result of a country agreeing to certain decisions based on economy type. Uh, just to name a few, you'll notice that the consumer economies offer more diversity, economic mobility, and that of immigration promotion compared to that of its production counterparts. And another pro for production counterparts is that of its benefit towards wealth inequality, addressing social and human services for its people. While I can't argue that one type of economy is more optimal than another, I will argue that countries that fully embrace each side of its economic type nature are the ones that are generally the most successful. I would be happy to hear and like to hear all the comments and social trends you think I am not picking up that may be politically resulted from each economy type. As always, and mentioned before, please leave any comments and concerns you may have in the comment discussions below. Thank you for watching.